a legend of one man who persuaded his friends to watch every Godzilla movie ever made. This world is on the brink of destruction. We need you now, Godzillavangelists! Godzillavangelists, a Geek Stew Network podcast, produced and hosted by Ryan Sargent, featuring Sam Schlenker and Joanna Brodecki. Hello and welcome to Godzillavangelists. I'm Ryan, and I'm happy to have my pals Sam and Joanna here.
Hello, Ryan.
What's up?
Now, don't get intimidated, you guys, but I just had the quickest little pop quiz for you two. Just a memory game. Are you ready?
No, but yes.
This is bringing me back to scary high school days. I don't like it.
Well, like it or not, here we go. So in the past, we've talked about a number of famous fans of Godzilla and kaiju movies, and I want to see how many you can remember. So just like alternating, toss them out to me, and we'll see how many we can get in.
Matthew Broderick.
Not a fan.
Ryan Gosling.
All right, we know Spielberg's a fan, right?
Right. That's one. Yeah.
Ridley Scott.
Possibly.
Not as far as I'm aware. Possibly.
Tony was probably a fan, though. Tony Scott.
Sam, you're going to have to run with this one.
Joanna, there's one actor in particular. We saw a clip of him from the Oscars talking about the first movie he loved as a child.
Matthew McConaughey?
Nope.
No. Well, that wasn't a Godzilla.
Brad Pitt, remember? He was talking about War There Are Gargantuas.
Right, which isn't Godzilla. He may hate Godzilla and only like the Gargantuas.
Well, I said Godzilla and kaiju movies.
Oh.
It's true. He may not like Godzilla.
Ryan, I don't know if you've learned anything from this pod, but my memory is the 2 hours that we record the episode and then it just disappears into the night. It doesn't stick, you know?
Oh, I know. I designed this to torture you.
But I'm happy to relearn. Oh, Brad. Good old Brad. Plan B, love him.
Any more you want to toss out?
I don't know. I'm kind of thinking about like world leaders from the past. Castro, maybe. Stalin.
Well, for the most part, when we talk about kaiju lovers, they're fine, decent people to rank among our fellow fans. But as you mentioned, there's at least one infamous, unpleasant Godzilla fan out there who we're going to talk about today, named Kim Jong-il.
Fascinating.
Yes.
Tell us more, Ryan. Tell us more.
More specifically, we're going to talk about 1985's Pulgasari and how this wild monster movie got made in North Korea. But first, I'd like to introduce our guest, Joanna's friend, Natalie Morin, culture writer and editor. Welcome to Godzillavangelists.
I'm so happy to be here, evangelizing the Godzillas and affiliated monsters.
And yes, the Pulgasaris. So I have to ask you, as I ask all our guests, what was your Godzilla giant monster experience up to now?
Extremely limited. To be honest, do not know if I've seen a Godzilla movie ever. I've seen posters. I don't think I've even seen a King Kong movie. I think that part of movie history just passed me by.
Your distinction between Godzilla and King Kong already puts you a level higher than Fiona, though, because when I first brought up the idea of Godzilla to her, she was like, that's the big monkey guy, right? So,
Right.
You have some knowledge coming in, which is great.
Yeah, I have a cursory knowledge of the Godzilla legacy, but that's really about it. When I think of Godzilla, I think of like your classic big monster in a city, and then he fights other big things sometimes.
You're not. You've got a basic immersion, but this is your first real giant monster movie, huh?
Yeah, I'm so happy to now be part of this beautiful world.
So are we. So are we. And so one of the reasons I thought it'd be cool to have you on is because you used to cover some of the Korean culture beat. Am I right?
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. I studied Korean, started studying a few years ago because I was taking Chinese growing up. And somebody told me that Korean is loosely related to Chinese in many ways. And so I thought that would be helpful. It's also phonetic, which Chinese is not. And that was very exciting. But turns out Korean is very, very difficult language to learn. But I stuck with it and started kind of supplementing my learning with music and with movies and K-dramas and just kept it up from there. And so throughout, then I cover music at work and I started covering K-pop, and through that started to get to know the culture a lot more. I went to Korea a few times over the past couple of years. So been engaging with Korean culture a lot in the past couple of years.
I'm hoping you can use your special insight to help us dissect this mess.
Yeah, we'll really see where I can be of service, because a lot of this is truly, even probably for most Koreans, this is a stretch.
So today we're going to cover things a little bit differently to your audience. We're going to spend a good bit of time talking about the wild story behind this movie, which, if you haven't heard it, involves kidnapping, blackmail, and espionage.
A movie in and of itself.
Truly. If you do know it, bear with us. It's a fun story. You could hear it again. And after that, we'll go on to the synopsis as usual, and the movie and all that. But are you guys ready for the story of Shin Sang-ok and Choi Eun-hee?
Hell yeah. Let's dive on into this roller coaster.
By the way, I should have said that before I did those names, but if my Japanese pronunciation is not great, my Korean is awful, so apologies in advance. Second warning, this is a pretty well-supported story, but it's also fairly modern, and some people think certain things happen differently. So I'm going to put that big allegedly out front. All this allegedly happened. In the 1960s, Shin Sang-ok was possibly South Korea's most popular director, and his wife Choi Eun-hee was possibly the country's most popular actor.
I love a power couple in the entertainment industry.
Who are they analogous to now? Is it like Roman Polanski and...
Judd Apatow.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
And what's her name? Leslie Mann.
I was going to say, I don't know if there's a true one-to-one. You could also say Jordan Peele and Chelsea Peretti.
True.
Darren Aronofsky and Jennifer Lawrence.
Ooh. Are they together?
I don't think they're still together.
Right.
Yeah,
Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
I like the idea of Tim Burton getting kidnapped and forced to make movies. I don't know why, but them being like, you'll make our propaganda, and he's like, it'll be spooky. It's like,
yeah, he's like, it'll be weird.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ask for it.
You're jumping ahead in the story.
I'm sorry.
Okay, continue.
So, as the years went on, their fortunes at the box office began to decline. They were no longer the power couple. Shin was having trouble making movies, and he had an affair that actually resulted in a second family.
Whoa, scandalous. A lot of scandal in this story, okay? Lots of scandal.
Men always be toxic, I'm telling you. Sorry.
I'll say what my wife said about this story at the end. But yeah, they divorced and both had a rough go of it for a few years. And so in 1978, Choi traveled to Hong Kong after she was approached to possibly direct a film or even teach at a performing academy in the territory. Somebody was like, hey, come on, I got a job here for you. But after following her handler there and her handler's daughter to Repulse Bay, a motorboat full of intimidating men arrived and forced Choi onto the boat with them. And they took her to a yacht, and she says she spent 8 terrifying days in and out of sedation on the boat to North Korea. And she was greeted by Kim Jong-il himself, and you can actually see photos where she's like visibly disoriented and confused, like getting off the boat, and he's like shaking her hand.
And of course his team was taking those photos, right? Like, oh, look who's on our side now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. And so Shin, full of regrets, spent months searching for his ex-wife. He was worried about what had happened to her. But little did he know, she was intended to bait him to Hong Kong, where he was also abducted and taken to North Korea. And they were placed in separate home imprisonments, and they didn't know that each other had been abducted. They didn't know where they were, had no awareness of each other.
Jesus.
Yeah. And so Shin tried to escape several times. So he was eventually sent to like a harsh re-education prison, which...
Like a work camp, yeah.
Yeah.
For 5 years, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kim Jong-il finally brought them together at a party in 1983, revealing them to each other like it was a cute joke. Like, look who was here the whole time.
And in that time, she was like in films for him, and he was at this camp, right? And then Kim was like, okay, he's indoctrinated enough now. For sure, he'll definitely be on my side after all this time. Okay. And she was playing a fantastic job acting as if she's cool to be there to get by. Okay.
Yeah, she was playing nice. The look on your face, right?
I think I've heard this story before, and it's never not insane. I mean, just the level of like, you know what? I want more of these movies. I want these actors. Like, get them for me. That's wild. That's insane. That's wild.
And the fact that he's a movie fan of Godzilla and also of James Bond, and the way with which these kidnappings happen are so surreal and just like of a villain of a Bond film, you know, from the two I've seen.
Oh my God. If Daniel Craig goes missing,
no.
Everybody look to North Korea. See what happened.
A weird side note is a couple of years ago, a producer I worked with sent me a Christmas gift in the mail, at the end of December. I got like a nice like holiday gift from her, and I opened it, and it was a book that was, I think it was called like On Cinema or On Film History, or I think it's called on Film. And it was just like this green paperback book with just super minimalist cover. It was just On Film. And I was like, it's like a film, craft book. How interesting. And then I looked at who the author was, and it was Kim Jong-il. And I was like, who gave this to me? Like what is going on? And
what?
And then I was like, is this a mistake? Like, and I called her, or I think I texted her, and I was like, hey, you gifted me a book called by Kim Jong-il, and she goes, yeah, I thought you'd think it was funny. And like, I don't know. I mean, I do. I think that's very funny. However, I don't feel awesome about having a book by him on my shelf.
No.
But that is like Nathan Fielder level funny, like gift to give.
Yeah. Was the book a banger? Was it good?
Well, I kind of flipped through it, and it was a lot of like Kim Jong-il musing about the power of cinema and like how to make a good movie. And it doesn't read like he actually had any real insights, but the guy liked movies, and I think probably fancied himself like quite the expert.
I mean, clearly, if he wrote a whole fucking book on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He was obsessed, like very famously, like obsessed with films and movies, and wanted to make North Korea a Hollywood, basically. But maybe he kidnapped a ghostwriter to write that book.
That's probably right. And he kidnapped, who would be a big author of that time? He would have kidnapped
Ernest Hemingway. Oh no, wait.
Tennessee Williams.
Stephen King.
Yeah, he kidnapped Stephen King. Yeah.
And Ryan, wasn't his title at the time like National Leader of Cultural something, like whatever his title was?
Something like that. I honestly believe he would have been happier being a movie producer than whatever else he ended up doing. Because, he explained when he reunited them that he was dissatisfied with the North Korean film industry. He thought it was boring and didactic, and he wanted to use their talents to earn praise and spread the word of their country's cultural and social values at film festivals in neutral-ish countries like Switzerland and Austria. And he, unsurprisingly, insisted that they had to pretend they had willingly defected to North Korea to enjoy the greater artistic freedoms.
God.
I will say what is super weird is these like dictators and dictators' inner circles being obsessed with making cinema powerhouses. Like Goebbels was like obsessed with cinema too. So just saying.
It's because they know how powerful it is.
The power of a story.
Yeah. I mean, Korea now is, so entertainment is like the huge soft power that South Korea wields right now. So
Right.
But
exactly.
This is not the way to go about it.
No. And so Choi and Chin agreed, but they had also managed to obtain a tape recorder, which they used to secretly collect evidence of their coercion. So they would bring it to meetings with Kim Jong-il, and she would hold it in her purse.
Wow.
And because he liked her, he would never search it.
Right.
Damn.
But from 1983 to 1985, the couple made at least 6 films for North Korea, including folk tales, war stories, and musicals.
Musicals? Oh, no. That's never good.
But the final film they made, and the most expensive, was Pulgasari.
Wow, and don't it look expensive? Sure, it sure does. Gleaming with that cash.
For North Korea, yeah. Details are a little hazy, but either Shin or Kim Jong-il saw Return of Godzilla 1985, and believed that it could be exciting and fun for North Korea to have its own giant monster movie. And so Kim Jong-il recruited and paid for hundreds of extras to be in the movie, and it was the most complex North Korean production up to that point.
I like that you say recruited. Like, he recruited hundreds of extras to run at each other with swords and get rocks rolled over them.
When you have to recruit an extra and not just get any needy actor on the side of the road to partake, that shit's not good.
It was real fire. There was real fire in there.
Oh yeah, that was one of my biggest notes. They were really throwing flaming debris at these people, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" It was like bouncing off them. They were like,
"Wait, really?" I think I had a note of like great special effects at that point.
I could tell, you could tell like where the special effects began and ended. And I was like, this looks way too real for this time period. And it probably was, because they probably had literally no regulations. Literally.
Yep.
Oh my God. And then, wait, who played Pulgasari? Like, wasn't there a tie in there to someone from the Godzilla verse too?
Yes, a perfect transition. For the special effects, they actually recruited the team at Toho Studios.
How the fuck did they do that? Like, that's crazy to me. How the fuck did they do that? How did the people at Toho say, like, yeah, this seems like a really great idea, just getting on this movie with North Korea here?
Come meet with us on this yacht. We have a meeting set up.
All 20 of you. Apparently, they were shocked when they found out they were being taken to North Korea. They were told it was a Chinese movie.
Oh, God, of course. God, can't trust anyone.
Unhappy to find out where they were going.
It's this little Chinese movie with the most glorious producer. Only the finest producer.
A real prince he is. But yeah, they had the supervisor of Return of Godzilla's effects, Teruyoshi Nakano, Godzilla's performer in the 80s and 90s, Kenpachiro Satsuma playing Pulgasari.
Wait. So these people, were they kidnapped at this point too?
No, they were hired, but they were tricked. They thought they were going to China.
So soft kidnapped.
I didn't like the idea of the guy in the suit being kidnapped and forced to wear the suit. That really didn't sit right with me.
No, not him. But they even had Minya's portrayer, Marchan the Dwarf, as baby Pulgasari. I was like, oh man.
I knew at the end of the movie I got some Minya sensibility coming in there.
Yeah, I was like, boy, baby Pulgasari is a lot like Minya. I wonder if Kim Jong-il liked Son of Godzilla, but then I found out, no, it's literally the same guy in one of his last performances.
How do you feel about that, Ryan? Okay, one of your favorite films also being loved by the leader of North Korea. You don't want to be on that same boat together.
No.
This is unreal. This is absolutely crazy.
It really is.
So the actress was Ami? Or was she?
No. She actually did not appear in this one, but she was his assistant director in the movies where she didn't appear. So she was assistant director for Pulgasari.
Got it.
Because she was a little older at this time. She was like 50 or so.
She could have played the aunt.
She could have played the auntie. Yeah.
Get her out of the film.
Sorry, that came out sounding judgmental. I just meant she was not Ami.
No, I mean, everybody else probably thought that. They're like, we don't have any great-grandmothers in this production.
But now a little bit too on like what their thought was in putting this monster movie together. The two people who were kidnapped, like their hope with it was that it would get some international recognition, right? Or I guess Kim's too.
So this is where like the complexity of being in their position comes in, because Shin really did enjoy the freedom and the money he got to make the movies. It was the one benefit he liked. So he genuinely put effort into making these. But I think there definitely was something of an ulterior motive as they started getting more freedom and being taken to film festivals. So, speaking of, Pulgasari, huge success in North Korea, and it was even distributed in other countries like Japan. But during one of their film festival tours of early 1986, Shin and Choi arrived in Austria and finally managed to get in a room alone with Japanese film critic Akira Inoki. And, of course, they told him what was going on. They're like, we're in trouble and we need to get out of here. And so Inoki went downstairs, told a hotel employee that they needed help from the U.S. Embassy, and hailed a cab. And then Shin and Choi, snuck downstairs, got in the taxi with him, and the North Korean handlers actually chased them. They got another cab and followed them through traffic, but they managed to lose them. And Shin and Choi sprinted into the U.S. Embassy into safety 8 years after their initial abduction.
Yeah, I heard there was traffic and they had to get out of the car and just run to the last few steps of the embassy to make it before they... I mean, that's 8 fucking years.
Wait. Let's just say it. The power of journalism and journalists. Let's just absolutely a top tier Pulitzer Prize winning work.
Yeah, I mean, would you call a cab for people who are being chased by North Korean goons?
See, everybody support local journalism. Support your journalists on the ground, because we could be, we could be writing about the small stuff and we could be saving the world. Yeah.
Oh my God. And then did they go back to South Korea or did they go to the US for a minute?
Yeah. So using the tapes they had recorded, they showed they had been coerced, convinced the CIA, and officially speaking, the South Korean government. They spent about 10 years after that in Los Angeles, and Shin actually produced the 3 ninja movies for Disney, if anyone has memory of that very obscure little series. But after that, yes, they finally went back to South Korea, but there were a lot of people who were never convinced that they had been coerced. They thought they had gone willingly and had only left because they got regrets.
Oh, shit. So people were throwing them shade when they came back. Oh, that sucks. Oh, my God.
Also insisting that they had not been kidnapped was Kim Jong-il, who said that they had fled after embezzling all the money for his grand biopic of Genghis Khan that he wanted to make.
Oh, no, and he never got to make it. No.
Sure.
It's right up there with Napoleon as one of the greatest movies never made.
Oh, my God. The whole thing is, just larger than life and not real, and got us this film.
Yes. Through that nightmare, we got Pulgasari.
Lord.
I think, too, we can, get more into this as we talk, but I think, too, what's crazy is knowing, I didn't read the backstory before watching it, but knowing the film was made in North Korea, I was confused because I was like, this film totally feels like it's trashing the leadership. So I'm very confused what's going on here. But then here I read, and maybe this was true, maybe not, but that Shin might have had some meaning for Pulgasari representing the North Korean government, of saying that we're going to help you out, we're going to give everything for the people, but then becoming too big itself and actually taking from the people and starting to destroy their lives. So then but all of it, watching it, it's how did I was shocked that Kim approved the film. But I guess from his purview, it was the people's power.
Well, but also, a lot of the movie was focused on the perspective of I felt like it was focused a lot more than normally on the perspective of the people trying to fight the good, quote unquote. It was just a lot about the different plots that they had to overthrow, as opposed to Pulgasari and the farmers, as opposed to that much about what was going on with the farmers. They were just defend.
That is an interesting point. But it seems stunningly obvious from our perspective.
Right. What the fuck is going on in that movie? That the leadership is trash.
Wait, Shin, you said I was Pulgasari and I was powerful and awesome, but Pulgasari turns evil and everyone hates him and he dies. No. That's someone else now. That's don't worry about it. You're fine. You're good. You're good. You were Pulgasari and was good, and don't worry about it. It's cool.
Don't stress about it.
Pulgasari isn't evil. He's just too hungry.
He's just too hungry for the iron.
He just needs to eat.
Which, who among us?
Yeah. So it definitely feels like there was some surreptitious messaging in the movie.
Yeah.
But before we get too deep into our comments, shall we do the synopsis?
Yeah, let's do it, because what a trip.
In feudal Korea, a peasant town riots when the local governor arrives to confiscate their iron and orders the local elderly blacksmith to make weapons using the material. The blacksmith and rebel warrior Inde are imprisoned after they challenge the governor, and the blacksmith's adult children Ami and Anna are denied from seeing him.
It's too sad for sound effects.
Yeah.
It's too...
It is a pretty bleak opening.
Yeah, there's no fun involved here.
Desperate, Ami and Anna throw rice into the blacksmith's cell window. Rather than eating it, he crafts it into a monstrous figure and prays for his final creation to save his people.
An award-winning monologue, in my opinion. The commitment there was beyond.
After the blacksmith dies in prison, his children collect his possessions, and Ami accidentally spills a drop of blood on the figure while sewing. The blood brings the baby monster named Pulgasari to life, delighting Ami and Anna.
What are his sound effects? I can't remember. He doesn't screech. He just eats iron, right?
He starts out being like, "Meh."
Yeah, he's kind of like a young cat.
cat. Yeah.
Pulgasari feeds on iron, quickly growing and causing chaos in the governor's realm. Inde is able to escape and leads a peasant army to defeat the governor. Fearful, the Korean king surrounds the peasant rebels in their mountain hideout, but Pulgasari, now 8 feet tall, arrives and frightens the soldiers off. Ami persuades Pulgasari to fight alongside the peasants in exchange for eating their opponent's iron. I'll use the same sound effects like he was eating bagel chips. That's what it sounded like to me, just like... Pulgasari grows gigantic and helps the peasant army become unstoppable. The king recruits General Flan to destroy Pulgasari. Flan tries trapping the monster in a burning cage and exorcising it of the blacksmith's spirit.
Oh, that part was a riot. Forgot about that.
But with Ami's help, Pulgasari survives every threat. Finally, Pulgasari destroys the king's palace and brings an end to the cruel monarchy.
Yay!
Unfortunately, his appetite for iron continues.
Oh, man.
And he begins causing fear and suffering among the Korean people. I didn't laugh for fear and suffering. I laughed for your aw man. Just
yeah,
so
sure, Ryan, sure. Okay.
Yeah, good saying, Ryan.
Sure.
Knowing that Pulgasari must die to prevent worldwide devastation, Ami hides herself in an iron bell and feeds herself to Pulgasari.
It's always the woman with that connect and who has to kill herself at the end. It's a bummer.
Final girl.
The monster crumbles away, leaving only its infant form for a moment, who fades into a blue tear resting upon Ami's dead cheek. Or at least that was my interpretation of that batshit crazy end.
Thought she was going to come back to life for a second, but she did not.
Yeah, it looked like she was going to open her eyes.
And she didn't have a single cut on her body. I thought she got chomped to death.
Yeah.
Well. Apparently not. Apparently it's just the boiling hot temperatures in the Pulgasari's stomach that got her.
Right. That's true.
The acid.
Well, what a journey. Ryan, you didn't mention any of the sword fighting because I was very excited to give the pew 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 kind of lightsabery sound effect.
It was like pew, blang, pew, blang, pew, blang.
Didn't it like kind of like a bad Star Wars rendition? I thought they were. Yeah,
it was like teardrop. It was like drops. It was so specific. Bling.
It was very much like the kind of stuff you would hear in like Hong Kong martial arts movies. It was like ripped straight from that sound library.
I could just imagine like the sound person just like sitting at a microphone going pew 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 pow pow pew pew pew.
Oh my god.
So I had to watch this on YouTube, as I think we all did. Mm-hmm. And right from the start, the blurry image and blaring synth music made it feel like a weird forbidden import. Like I was seeing a VHS I wasn't supposed to, and I loved that vibe.
It was way spookier than I feel like I'm used to. I was like, this one's going to be a bleak movie right here.
The music throughout, because there's a lot of it. The music's almost constant. And it's like 90s video game music. Like it's crazy. Like it's like at times I thought it was kind of like a 80s BBC synth score, but I kind of like where I arrived is it's like mid 90s Zelda music, but inappropriately played wall to wall.
I had heard of the kids doing this for their YouTube video watching, but I'd never done it before, which is put it at faster speed on YouTube. And so for the first time I watched something at 1.5 speed. And I was worried I would miss the subtitles, but it actually felt like it was going at a like relatively normal pace. And I'm not going to make this a habit, but it was, I kind of see what the kids are talking about. I'm seeing all the rages.
They don't got no patience anymore. With a grand film like Pulgasari, you gotta have the proper build-up.
I will say, like, at first when I was watching it, and, you know, they're calling out for Pulgasari, and they're like, Pulgasaria, Pulgasaria. And then when I do 1.5 scene, it was like, Pulgasaria, Pulgasaria, Pulgasaria. It was kind of wild, but fun. It was fun.
Yeah, very fun.
The whole medieval theme is so unique for a kaiju movie. It was cool to get a different flavor of ice cream, so to speak. I was like, oh, this is what it would taste like if it was in the feudal era as opposed to the 20th century.
I kind of like, you know me, I'm always like, oh, I love it when they're pared back and simple. The beginning reminded me of, is it Rodan that starts in that mining village?
Mm-hmm.
But how about that eyeliner? There was so much tight black eyeliner in this film. I was really digging it. It was like, oh, we have such dirty faces from being out in the sun and toiling the fields, but we keep it a tight pop punk eyeliner out here.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, this is the 80s coming out. They got to get ready to put on the rock, get on stage any moment.
Little known fact, Susie Sue was also kidnapped for this movie to do the makeup.
No. God damn it.
All right, that one goes out to all the goth rock fans.
Did you see that go whoosh over my head?
Susie and the Banshees, listen, great music. But this movie is incredibly melodramatic right from the start.
God. Right, it was bleak as fuck. When they're the old man in the cell, I felt so bad for him when they're breaking that auntie's legs. It was awful.
It got gruesome. It was also a really strange movie to watch just now, because I feel like even from the beginning, the Japanese kaiju movies we've watched, like, Japanese film had just, like, those directors had watched a lot of Western movies and vice versa. Mm-hmm. Like, we like, Japanese films actually kind of are, there are obviously things that aren't Western, but, like, you watch it and you recognize, like, a lot of the same ways of shooting a movie that you'd see in a movie that we watch in America or in Europe. And, like, it's weird because now South Korean film is actually pretty Western, but I was surprised at how kind of bizarrely, like, it was a filmed stage play and there was no depth to the frame ever. It was a lot of, like, everything is kind of like a medium shot that we're just sort of finding people. We're only seeing the same amount of them, and we're always just moving left and like panning between things. It was actually kind of like dreamlike and unsettling to me, because this is like very much not how any movie I've seen has been shot. It kind of felt like filming a stage play where the backdrop is 4 feet behind everyone at all times.
Agreed. Yeah, there were so many wide shots, like a wide shot of them at the river, and then kind of like shakily zoom in on Ami, or like all of that. Mm-hmm. It also gave, I feel like it was a weird sensibility because it was like almost comedic. Like, I feel like Arrested Development would have shots like that, you know, zooming in on Job or something like that. But it's for comedic effect. It's not for the point of being like, this is so a serious moment. Zoom in on this person. It was like a little absurd to watch.
So, Joe, would you say that Pulgasari is the Arrested Development of North Korean cinema?
Absolutely. Arrested Development ran because Pulgasari was able to stand on its own 2 feet and walk.
Pulgasari, you'll be our ally forever. Spoiler alert, he wasn't.
Right. Yes.
Ron Howard.
I mean, it's like, it makes so much sense now that this is a North Korean film, right? Because they're so behind the rest of the times in so many ways, and continue to be so because of their forced isolation. So many.
Yeah. I think for the most part, it was just a limit of the experience of the crew. Because I can see Shin trying. Like, he's always putting shit in the foreground. Like, there's a rabbit running by, or trees. Like, he's trying to give depth in, like, the most straightforward kind of way. But yeah, it's always like a proscenium. Like, you're looking in on a play, like you said.
I would say it wasn't the worst made by a long shot the worst made movie we watched for this podcast. I actually kind of, if we were ranking the directors, like the like filmmaking of these, it's actually in the better half. I'd probably say it's just weird. Like it's just weird. I just can't. It's just not the way I would think to ever do it. It's like a different language.
Yeah. It looks like those masterpiece theater movies.
Yeah, totally.
A little bit.
I was actually shocked the first time there was a shot outside because like the first 10 minutes of the movie are like all in like this weird soundstage and everything has this strange coloring and lighting on it. So I was like, whoa, we're outside now in the real sunlight.
What's funny about that is North Korea is certainly very different than South Korea, but there's this trope in K-pop music videos that lots of K-pop music videos that particularly come out of one specific entertainment company are like all done in one box. They're like, and so there's like a joke where people are like, God, like this music video was done in the box again. Get them out of the box. Get them outside. So, it seems to be a trend running around them parts.
That's great.
There was a moment, I think kind of what Ryan is referring to too, where like the first 10 to 15 minutes are all, again, like all in a soundstage. There's always a rock wall behind, like literally right behind everyone. So you're only watching things on a flat plane on like a long lens that they're just kind of panning between characters. And I was like, I wonder if they're ever going to either use a wider lens or get a close up. And then suddenly there's like at a very unusual time, but it was kind of interesting. There's a moment where we cut to a close-up of, like, the blacksmith, like, after he's been, like, kind of thrown to the ground. And it's, like, a straight-up wide lens, in his face, Dutch angle, like, Sam Raimi Evil Dead shot. Where I was just like, whoa! It's, like, really weird. But it was kind of a cool shot. I'm not like, criticizing it. It's just, like again, just... It kind of decalibrated me. It just was so unusual. And maybe you're right, Ryan. It might be that there was kind of a visionary filmmaker, but then a crew who, like, no one quite knew what to do. And you just get this, like, unsettling film that isn't a film how we know it.
Yeah, like you said, is speaking a different language. Very interesting.
And the whole push and pull of, like, the very dark dramatics of it. Like, when I was trying to think of the other Godzilla films, I think the bleakest moment we've ever seen is back in the original movie, right? With that mom and child, like, in that little outdoor area. And she says something like, we'll meet daddy soon or something so bleak, whatever she says. But that was like one moment. The whole film was not like that. This one was just never like, it felt like it kept going when they were taking shit from the villagers and then throwing them in jail. And again, the torture stuff. But then at the same time, you have this like little Pulgasari waking up in a box looking cute as ever and being like, beep, bap, beep, bap. It was so jarring. It was like, what movie are we in? Is this serious? Is it a Minions comedy for kids? I can't tell where the fuck we are.
It is unwittingly like Pan's Labyrinth. It's like, it's the darkest, most real, horrible stuff. And then like pure fantasy for children. And
right. It had moments where I felt like I was watching Monty Python, with all the people running around on the battlefield and the ping, ping,
run away!
It's ridiculous. I couldn't label it in a genre.
Yeah, it's, again, I think just a cultural divide, because this is stereotypical, but it feels very communist to me, and that like they're just used to a different way of living, especially in that time of the Eastern Bloc. And I think, because not all, but a lot of the communist states of the Cold War really focused on keeping the people happy through celebrating their past victories, which is something that Putin still does.
Right.
And so this movie is essentially like another celebration of, remember when we overthrew the Japanese oppressors and got to govern ourselves? And so I think even though it is so dire, it's supposed to be like, we are overcoming together narrative. And I think that was, so it feels darker than it's supposed to be. At least that's my interpretation on it.
Well, and also knowing that the audience is like North Korea, not knowing again, because I haven't seen an extensive amount of their films, what they're used to, but definitely with the Godzilla films, we're used to like the coding of Hollywood on all of it. Mm-hmm. So it would never go to that level, knowing that it's trying to like mass sell to families and all these people.
Right. I had no idea there was going to be a tiny Pulgasari in this, and I loved every bit of it.
It's crazy that it was just so from afar. It was like the briefest of a moment. Why was it necessary? Who knows? Then he disappeared.
Yeah, I actually laughed out loud when the blood dropped on it. I was like, I thought it was going to grow huge immediately, or like the next day they would see it alive, but instead it just starts wriggling in the sewing box, and I was like,
oh, it looked like, for creating that, like, do you know how they shot it? Because to me, it looked like every diorama I had to make in 5th grade of like a living room or an outdoor space, and then they just stuck a little Pulgasari in my 5th grade diorama, and we're like, boop, 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 boop.
It's actually the opposite. It's a huge sewing box set with the actor
with a regular human in it.
Yeah,
no way. It wasn't a puppet. It was a man in a suit in that little sewing box.
Yeah.
Shut up. Wow, I love that. Wow, what fun.
The metal crunching was unsettling, I will say that.
Very unsettling.
Not good for our ASMR folks out there.
No, not at all.
He would take a bite out of the swords.
Who was everyone's favorite character of the film?
Apart from Pulgasari?
Yeah, well, I was going to say not allowed. You got which human, and at which moment did you realize that they were your favorite? And that they were going to be the winner for you?
I liked Ami just because she seemed kind of unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like, with the moment when Pulgasari is buried underground after the exorcism, and the ground is like glowing, and she cuts her wrist and the blood flows down. I was like, "That's badass! This is the most metal part of this movie."
I was low key I was pretty impressed with the strong female lead energy there was.
Yeah,
in this
same.
film. Did not expect that, even though she sacrifices herself at the end. Yada yada yada.
But at the end, she really was going for it. And she did go up to bring the rice she was always trying to blast past those guards. So even if she had a few tears while doing it, she was going for it. But my favorite was for sure the uncle. And the uncle was my favorite from about 1 minute into the film. I was like, this guy, I feel like anytime there's an older gentleman in the film, I'm usually a huge softie for them. And I was like, this guy's here. He's running the show. His speech when he died, I was like, how committed is this actor? This actor is giving it fucking 120%. This world is real for him. He's got his little toy. He's putting it up to the sun. And then his spirit continued throughout the rest of the film. I loved it. I want more of him.
Joanna, is it fair to say that you always like the kids and the old men and nothing in between?
100%. It's the kids, it's the old men, especially if there's a kooky old toy maker, a kooky old scientist, or an occasionally middle ground is if there's a female character who's actually an alien and has amazing costumes that are 70s themed. Those
true.
are my 3 favorite archetypes.
Does that happen often in the Godzilla universe?
It has happened a handful of times.
More than you'd think.
Yeah, Natalie, the best female powerful leads in the Godzilla films are aliens. So, it's just what you gotta go with.
In order to make it in this world, we have to be not of this world.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't like the kid in this movie because he was too busy being sad and hurt, and he didn't have a backpack and he wasn't having fun. So I felt bad for him.
As grandma was beaten.
The uncle was uncle in the subtitles, and to everybody else, he was Abuji, which is father. So to everybody in the village, he was the father. I think probably not literally, but
yeah.
That would be hilarious if he
well,
was.
honestly, who knows?
Obviously, to the 2.
I mean, a haughty young blacksmith.
His statement though of I've given my life for these people and I wasn't able to accomplish everything, but I'm going to give it all I got. Brought a tear to my eye.
Yeah. I liked him when he was like. When he initially discovered the weapon cache at the beginning, he was like pissed. He was like, "You're gonna join those rebels, aren't you?" But then he was like, "No, it's the right thing to do." And he he hid the all the iron. He's a good guy.
Something
Okay.
silly about the beginning. So
Yeah.
about this time every year in New York City, when it's oppressively hot, I get really, really obviously excited for fall, excited for the colder weather, excited for camping season. And I get really like sucked into a deep dark hole of like gear reviews and what do I need to update in my pack and what are the best trails and literally like falling like what I brought my, my JMT.
And I get
what I
YouTube
ate.
influencer videos at 2 a.m. from her on backpacking.
Literally,
Just
it's
manic.
it's an issue. So I put away, I click out of the REI browser window. I put down my phone. I settle in to watch this film. And in the first 13 minutes, when we're getting ready to go to the mountains, what's his name has on a literal framed backpacking backpack of the like whatever it is, the medieval. It is a literal wooden frame backpack with all the goods, the hay, all the stuff. And I was like, literally backpacking
I can't escape it.
around for centuries.
It's all your life.
That gave me a little chuckle.
Yeah.
It was a sign.
I love how every villain in this movie has a sinister laugh.
Oh, their voices are so deep. I loved it.
Even the executioner, who that's just the guy's job, but he seems to enjoy it so much. He's like evilly laughing as he's getting ready to cut Inde's head off.
Oh, he made such a show. He made such a show of that. Like, he was like, faked you out. I'm going to rub my sword on his neck before I do it. Oh, got you.
We call it a swan song when actors are really like doing the most. And my pal who's a director, she's like, you're allowed one fucking swan song per show. Maybe two, okay? But like this guy was just swan songing his life away. He was giving it everything he could. Not in a good way.
They say if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah. I believe this is just the world's most satisfied executioner. Like, this is the dream job. He always wanted it.
And he got bamboozled again by that Pulgasari and those meddling kids.
Yeah.
That shot was epic. Pulgasari jumping in.
That hand puppet
tiniest
ate his
part.
sword.
Taking the bite out of his sword.
That was ridiculous. This movie's absurd.
Am I alone in feeling like this? I'm trying to think of how to put this. In the design of Pulgasari, did anyone else feel like, relative to your regular Japanese kaiju, this was much more of like a zaddy kaiju? Like, he was kind of beefy. He was kind of Am I alone in this? Did it feel like
Are you
he
trying
was
to say he was kind of hot?
like what I'm saying is that not only was he kind of hot, like, it feels like that was an intention.
Now we know what Sam's persona would be. He wants to be Pulgasari.
No, I'm saying right. No. Pulgasari, not sorry.
The horns, the teeth, the kind of... He did make me think of, like, a Dragon Ball Z bad guy from, like, my vague memory of that Dragon Ball Z from when I was a child.
I think that's
I will
not
say
a
that-
coincidence.
I was there for it. Especially the fire version of him that had to go in the river. That was pretty scary. He definitely had, like, devil characteristics, too, in that. We're maybe working those zaddy vibes.
Yeah.
But
He
yeah,
worked-
Sam, like if this movie was on TV these days, like all the kids would be jumping on Twitter being like that Pulgasari thirst, like and they would have like fan cams to like a Saweetie song of the Pulgasari.
Yeah, what K-pop band would be best to score Pulgasari? If they could do a
Dude,
rescore.
Monster X. Easy answer.
Yeah, easy. Get that collab going. Call him up.
Pulgasari looks real cool, yeah. Especially when he's coming out of the flaming cage, like you said.
Yeah, Flaming Cage Pulgasari was the coolest one. Little Pulgasari in the sewing box was the cutest one. I also appreciated 8-foot tall Pulgasari. I thought that was so funny that they were sprinting away in such fear, and he really wasn't that tall. But then I was like, Joanna, if you saw a creature you had never seen before in your life in front of you and it was only 8 feet tall, you'd be spooked too. But...
Yeah.
Eating fire. The BUL or PUL or whatever, like is fire. Literally means fire in Korean.
Oh, yeah.
What
So-
does PUL? Oh.
Yeah, Bulpul. It's that character.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Oh, because then he does at the end. Well, yeah. Which was the most ridiculous moment in the movie for everyone?
There's a lot of competition.
I think it's executioner sword bite. I think that rises to the top.
The exorcism was pretty wild.
Oh, the exorcism.
Yeah,
but the exorcism was kind of cool too. For me, the part I thought was a strong competitor for most ridiculous is when the king is about to die and he gets tangled up in the drapes like a confused dog.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, see, these are the parts of the movie where I totally felt like I was watching Monty Python. Like, this movie was Monty Python.
It was very like, oh!
He's rolling around on the ground as he dies, and then he gets squashed by the pillar.
And that little fake blood that comes out. Oh my god, it was too good. Also, back to the priestess, like, that was my one major plot fault of this film. In no film have I ever seen a priestess on the side of the government. I've never seen that, right? I feel like the priestess is always with the people, so I don't know what kind of commission she was getting for her work, but...
Yeah, Joe, my eyebrow was for sure raised.
She was quote unquote recruited for the film.
Right.
For the army, I mean, for the bad guys.
The emperor invited her to his canoe.
Yeah. Right.
They had great outfits, though. If I was going to be in the movie, I would think probably maybe want to be in that room.
Yeah, the priestess's delicate scarf landing on Pulgasari's body. And him being like, oh God.
Oh my God. I think for me too, them being like, we got the... I also love that every time the king was like, who will help me? And they're like, well, we know this one guy down the road. It was always like a new guy they were introducing with a new idea. And when they came up with, the biggest, most badass weapon, it's going to shoot flames, which is pretty badass. And then when Pulgasari encounters it, and the sound effect of him ingesting the flames, being like, whoop, this is really silly. Like, did that happen? It happened so fast. Whoop. And then spitting it back out like, whoop.
It was like a Mario. It was like the Mario, like the flowers that spit the fireballs.
Yeah.
Or like when Yoshi, gets the egg. It's like, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Was so good.
It was amazing. He was sucking down those cannonballs like they were nobody's business.
It was all so silly.
There's one part where the general's advisor tells General Flan like Pulgasari's whole backstory, and I'm like, how did he know that? Like, nobody saw the drop of blood on it. Nobody saw like the thing made of rice. It's like I expected him to take out the script of the movie and mug the camera, like the Muppet movie or something.
Here's how
he did his job. He's a reporter,
Yeah, he knows his shit.
He went cold calling. He went to door, asked for what their version of the story was.
Okay.
You're right, Natalie. They know what's up. I also appreciated the personality of Pulgasari. He really reminded me of my old cat because, in the beginning when they were with him, they were like, no, Pulgasari, you can't. They were like, Pulgasari, yelling at him. You can't eat that. He just didn't pay them any attention. He didn't give a fuck. He didn't look their way. He walked away into the woods, did whatever he want. I loved that degaffness about him.
He just plays by his own rules. That Pulgasari, just big, glistening, hot metal beef man.
I will say also, this film, I feel like so many times we have seen in Godzilla and King Kong films, movies where they're like, okay, these people live on the island and they, look to King Kong or whoever it is to protect them. But we kind of cover off on those stories in 15 minutes. And then we're more focused on the evil scientist who's going to kill whatever. They're more there's still very much this other kind of idea of them. So I did appreciate being very much in the story with everyone who lived in the village and having it very much be from their point of view compared to some other Godzilla movies.
Yeah, you were really with the revolution the whole time.
Yeah.
Although you're right, they did get hung up on like the Team Rocket revolving plots to stop Pulgasari in Act 3.
Truly. It was like it's like Team Rocket meets Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah.
It was like, let's just dig a ditch.
Which is Natalie and like Sam. How many movies is the plot? Like, let's dig a hole and we'll stop Godzilla. I feel like at least 50% of them. That's a plot point at some point. Ryan, am I wrong?
50% is a huge exaggeration, but you're right. It does happen in Godzilla movies. But on a more fun note, I love how after the general reveals the giant cannons, the king is so happy and he's like, this could take down even 104 Pulgasaris. And I was thinking, why 104? Is that a significant number in Korean that you're aware of?
No. I
That's
mean,
so strange.
in Chinese cultural tradition, 4 is an unlucky number because it's the same word for death. But the rest of it, I don't know.
I got it. I took that as like the actor just like didn't really remember whatever number was supposed to be in his line, so he just threw out whatever came to the top of his head. Is how I got his reading of that.
And then coming around to the ending, the only thing I could think of is inside every Pulgasari is a child waiting to get out, because that's literally what happened at the end.
That was so weird. Why?
I don't know.
Why? But it was really, was it just for 3 seconds of that little guy?
It was very brief. Like, Pulgasari crumbled, and I thought she was just going to be left there. But for some reason, for, like 20 seconds, baby Pulgasari is wandering around crying, and then, like, turns into, like, a little Disney blue sparkle and lands on her cheek.
Totally Snow White ending.
You know what's giving? It's giving... Gosh, I'm trying to think of one movie, but it's 1,000 movies. Where at the very end, the ghost walks away hand in hand with, their Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus.
Yes.
He walks and he's got the Zachary Banks. Whatever. He holds the hand of his little sister and like looks back and gives like a soft wave and a wink, and then walks into the distance. That's exactly the same energy as baby Pulgasari being like, da 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 da.
So beautiful. And
maybe confusing. It was, I felt like it was supposed to symbolize the blacksmith's sadness because it was his spirit, right?
Oh, I thought it was like him coming together with his daughter and they're both of the same, they both save the people and die for them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's probably close enough. As Godzillavangelists, it is our holy duty to assign each movie its proper place in heaven, hell, or purgatory, depending on how much you like it, where you believe it belongs in our canon of saints. So, pause here. Sam, are you with us?
Yes, I sure am.
All right, so since I've confirmed that, Sam, start us off. Where does Pulgasari go?
This is going to be controversial. I'm going to say heaven.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah. And here's why is look, there are things to criticize about it, but it's so far it's the only one of these we've watched that's been like this. It's one of one. And also the backstory is interesting, and yeah, sure, you can't grade the movie on the circumstances of the movie, but you kind of can. I'm going to do it. Who cares? Fight me. So I would say heaven. I think it's kind of interesting, and I could say purgatory, but then we're going to eventually have to decide on heaven or hell, and I can't put this in hell. So yeah, heaven. Let's do it. It's interesting.
Right. That's pretty much my take. So I agree. This is heaven pretty much purely because it's so different from everything else. It's just so weird and fascinating, but it is well made in a weird way, or fairly well made. It's just such a bizarre cultural language that it feels off, but it's visually interesting. The characters have a little something to them. You certainly feel for them. And there's like a weird like fairy tale parable going through the whole thing. And it's hilarious a lot of the time. So yeah, I'll give Pulgasari a heaven. Joanna, you want to go?
This is crazy. I don't know when the last time the three of us were 3 for 3, but I too, maybe 30 minutes in, was like, wait a second, am I going to be giving this movie a heaven? I think the chaotic energy of it really did it for me, and I hate to almost put it in heaven because of the circumstances that it was made under. But, you know, again, like I said, I always love a closed story, closed plot. We're not bringing in 50, 100 million other people. We're not trying to follow 17 leads within the film. It was very clear and direct. You know, did they keep going and trying when I thought, okay, maybe we've done enough attempts, we could wrap this up? Sure. But I was still, you know, I'm always like, am I paying attention or am I bored? That's always how I'm rating these. And I was generally paying attention, thought it was so odd, thought the people who were in it were really participating the best they could with this strange film. And so I don't know that I'd watch it again because of how bleak and like awful some of the bleak parts were, but watching it and you know, having watched it, I don't regret doing it. And I think if you're in the Godzilla fandom, definitely worth giving it a watch. So yeah, heaven.
Yeah. All right, Natalie, take us home.
I will say that, listen, I will never, ever be watching this film again. But everybody in this film gave it their all. 100%, 110% committed to the story. I laughed, I giggled, I cringed. It had a little bit of everything. So for me, I would put it in heaven, and knowing that the circumstances are what they are, to balance it out, we can just say, the persons perhaps super responsible for this film are probably in hell already. So
That's true. Great.
So this film can go to heaven.
That's true.
The work of the captors can go to heaven. The funders of the film can go to hell.
There you go, straight down.
All right. Seems like a perfect summation.
Guys, it's always the kooky, weird side ones that end up in heaven. It's always the ones that when we're talking about it, like, we're having fun. Why? What is this feeling? Does this maybe go to heaven?
What is this interesting thing that's doing something different?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Like Gargantua.
That is 90 minutes. A tight 90.
Tight 90.
If this movie had been 2.5 hours.
Oh, awful.
No.
Oh, no.
But then we could have really learned about the blacksmith's troubles in prison.
Right. We got to keep it tight, keep it moving.
Yeah. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, yay!
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Yeah.
No pun intended. A fiery blast.
Do you have anything to share with our audience? Plug away.
Oh, plug.
Yeah.
Think about what? About my childhood trauma?
Yeah, your personal life.
Is there anything you want to tell everyone? Yeah. If you like watching movies and TV shows and you have questions about how they are made and such, especially ones on Netflix, head over to netflix.com/tudum, TUDUM, and you can read some of my writers' great work.
You know, I didn't even know this existed until now. So
yes,
I'm going to
it's
check
new.
it out.
It's quite new. Soon it will be more integrated into the platform, but for right now, it's just a little publication trying to indulge and delight fans of Netflix movies and TV shows. So head on over.
I certainly will. Yeah, you were great to have on. We're going to do another Korean kaiju movie later, and I hope it works out.
Oh, yeah. Bring it on.
But for next time, friends, back to the world of Godzilla.
Woo!
We're going to watch Godzilla 2000, Millennium.
Yes, I love that name. It reminds me of when everyone was scared of 2000 and I bought a matching outfit with my American Girl doll for the countdown. Oh, I can't wait.
Godzilla Y2K.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yes, we're entering the 21st century of Godzilla.
Oh my god, we've made it. Finally.
Godzilla hair crimper.
Yeah.
Godzilla low-rise jeans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, throw out those Jinkos because those jeans are out of fashion and put on your low rises.
And before that, you're going to see technically a mini-sode we did, which is going to be us playing a game where we mash up James Bond and Godzilla movies. And it's really fun. So I hope you listen to it. Just shouting
Yeah,
that
and then
out.
when you listen, vote on the winning film, okay?
Yes,
Thank
please
you.
do. And thank you for your patience. We've had some struggles lately, but we're trying to stay on the monthly train. But if we fall off a little bit, thanks for understanding. We're keeping going strong. However, we are once again begging you for new reviews and YouTube comments and emails and all that. So everybody, give me a please, 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 please.
Come on. Give us a review.
Oh, this hurts. This just hurts to do it.
We had a good run
Lord,
for a
yeah.
while. Please give us something to read. But today I'll resort to a Twitter response. This was a reply to a tweet talking about Space Godzilla by Dave. Just Dave. Worst Heisei movie, terrible monster design. Awesome concept, though. Would love to see a grounded take with modern effects. Thank you for agreeing with me, Dave. This is the reason I shared your comments over the people defending Space Godzilla.
Shout out to Dave.
Shout out to Dave. But thank you so much for listening, dear audience. We love and appreciate all of you coming in and hearing what we have to say about these movies. Share us with your friends, people who love bad movies, weird movies, great movies, people who love hearing about Kim Jong-il. This one's perfect for them.
That's a huge portion of the audience, I'm sure.
It's the #1 podcast market. You know what I should have said, though, actually? This is our true crime episode, so you gotta share it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
There we go. But for real, when you share us, that's a huge help. When you give us reviews on Apple Podcasts, that's amazing. Also helpful, YouTube comments, subscribing on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play isn't a thing anymore. What are we on? Amazon Music, that one.
Catch our Pirates spinoff. Can't wait. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Godzillavangelists, a Geek Stew Network podcast, is brought to you by me, Ryan Sargent, and my friends Joanna Brodecki and Sam Schlenker. This episode was edited by Brogan Malloy. All our incredible music is composed by Robert Mai, and our wonderful artwork is drawn by Cassidy Stone. Special thanks to our families, friends, and the wonderful artists who made the movies we talked about today. Godzillavangelists is a satirical, critical work not affiliated or endorsed by Toho, Legendary Pictures, or anyone behind the Godzilla series. Visit our website at godzillavangelists.com. We're also on Twitter at GodzillaCast and Instagram at GodzillaVangelists. If you prefer to listen to us online, we have a YouTube channel, and the latest episode is always on SoundCloud, too. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you join us next time. In the meantime, keep spreading the word of Godzilla.